So what I want to talk about is a glimpse into the human mind, because I studied two things this week around the Kavanaugh situation and other situations, and I think people should really consider what I'm about to say. So someone by the name of Mike Cernovich, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's a journalist slash, provocateur of sorts and does a lot of things, but I find him very intriguing. He did a study on his Twitter reaching tens of thousands of people, and he said, would you lie to stop Hitler? That was the question. Would you lie to stop Hitler? 70% of the people said yes, and 30% of the poll said no. Keep in mind, this study is like 4 or 5 times as many people as normal polls. Normal polls only have 1,000, 2,000 people in it sometimes, so 70% of people admitted they would lie to stop Hitler. I personally, I'm just going to tell you my perspective. I hit no, not because I wouldn't want to stop him, but because I don't think a lie would stop Hitler. I would think the truth would be able to stop Hitler. If the truth can't, stop him, I think the truth is the most effective tool to stop a bad person, the truth. So I hit no. 70% of people hit yes. So what does this tell you about human psychology? You have 70% of people, from a psychological standpoint, admitting that they will lie in order to stop somebody that they perceive as Hitler or near Hitler or somebody that nefarious. So think about what that really, really means. Some people would say, oh no, they're just trying to stop a bad guy. There's nothing weird about that. But I'm talking from a deeper standpoint, from a psychological standpoint. The media has spent 2 years to paint Trump as Hitler, literally. They've spent 2 years to paint conservatives as neo-Nazis. And this is not a small fringe group of like 20, 30 people when it comes to people who believe this. There are millions of people in this country who believe that Trump and Republicans and conservatives have links to Nazis and neo-Nazis and, people who are affiliated with Hitler himself. So there's millions of people who believe this. So what I took from this poll is that 70% of people are admitting that they will lie in order to stop somebody of that means. So I'm not even talking about Mrs. Ford. Me personally, it's an obvious political hit job to me. I mean, it's quite obvious when you see what undergraduate program she studies and, who she's affiliated with, what her political thoughts are. But I don't want to get into that because I'm not the court, I'm not a judge, I'm not a politician, so that's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide, the viewer, and that's for people who actually matter when it comes to Supreme Court nominees to decide. But what I am telling you is 70% of people are admitting to you that they will lie in order to stop Hitler. So if they perceive somebody as Hitler, they will lie to your face in order to stop him, just like many people on both sides, conservative and Democrats too. I just thought that was very interesting. And like I said, I could talk about the Kavanaugh hearing all day, but I want to get a little deeper. So I learned this week also via my Instagram polling. I said, who thinks Bill Cosby's guilty? Who thinks he's innocent? About 80% of people thought that Bill Cosby was guilty. And then my second question that came 12 hours after was, did you actually read the charges of what he's charged for? Or did you just hear what the media said? 80% of people said they heard what the media said. So what does this tell you about the brainwashing and how easy it is to socially engineer and mind control people to lie, to steal, to ruin lives? And I'm not saying Bill Cosby's innocent. I'm not saying Bill Cosby's guilty. I'm not even saying Blasey Ford is innocent or guilty. That's not what I'm saying. I'm doing an analysis of the psychology behind this manipulation that's going on. And I'm telling you that 80% of people think that somebody's guilty, even though only 20% of them actually studied the case. So that tells you 4/5 of humans, at least in this study, I'm sure it's very similar, 4/5 of people are willing to say that someone's guilty, even though only 1/5 know the charges. This is really alarming, regardless who it is, that people will just assume someone's guilty based off media coverage and won't even check to figure out why they're going to jail. Very interesting. And like I said before, 70% of people would lie to stop Hitler, which means if you can convince somebody that they're Hitler, convince them that Kavanaugh's a terrible person linked to Nazis, you can then convince 70% of people to lie to people's face in order to achieve their means. And me personally, I just think this is awful because in my personal perspective, and don't get me wrong, don't misquote me, I know conservatives do it too. I know a lot of conservatives and Trump supporters who think that maybe Keith Ellison or Hillary Clinton or George Soros or somebody so terrible that they're willing to lie and manipulate news in order to bring them down. Even to them, even to conservatives, I say that's a terrible idea. If the truth can't take Hillary Clinton down, if the truth can't take George Soros or Keith Ellison or any Democrat down, then it's not worthy of being taken down. If you can't have a good, even with all of these theories surrounding a lot of these people, I'm not saying that there's not a lot of suspicious evidence, but what I am saying is, unless you have the evidence, unless you have the proof, unless you can make a convincing argument, just drop it or move on to something else that you can. There's no sense in speculating your whole life and not being able to prove anything. So I don't like when conservatives and Republicans do it. If you can't take someone down with the truth, they don't deserve to be taken down. From Hitler to Donald Trump to Brett Kavanaugh, although they all have nothing to do with each other, if the truth can't take Brett Kavanaugh down, people shouldn't do it. Same with Hitler. I would think that his regime was so nefarious that it wouldn't take a lot of lying to take him down. Just present the truth in a convincing argument. So that's really what I wanted to say today. We could talk for hours, but I don't want to. I wanted to make this short and watchable. But I want to just look into human psychology. 70% of people are willing to lie to take down Hitler. So that tells you psychologically, mentally, and politically that if you can do enough media programming and brainwash manipulation to convince somebody that this whole side of the political debate are linked to Nazis, even though they're not, then you can convince roughly 70% of people who will lie every single day, lie to your face, tell a bold-faced lie in front of anybody to achieve the means that they think they're achieving, especially when Roe versus Wade and abortion is on the table with Brett Kavanaugh. That's what people feel. Conservatives think that they're killing babies. Democrats think that it's a woman's right and it's taking away women's right. So it's a very heated debate, and people will lie to achieve the means that they want to achieve on both sides. Because when it comes to killing babies and women's rights, those are two big deals, and that's how both sides of the debate feel. But that just shows you how easy it is to program and manipulate human beings. I'll give a quick story before I leave. I knew the media was lying. I knew the school system was lying. I knew that there was brainwashing and propaganda everywhere at a young age. I was very, very, critical and deep thinking. However, this is what I want to tell people. I knew this was all going on. I wrote about it in songs. I still got deceived. I still got manipulated. I still got brainwashed in certain elements of my life and social situations because even though I was hyper aware, more aware than probably most people are, probably more than 90%, 99% of people, I was more, maybe less, maybe more. I was more aware of how manipulative the media was, and I still got played. So it's very safe to say, if you don't think the media is brainwashing and manipulating people, if you don't think academia and society and the tech companies are manipulating people, it's safe to say that you are brainwashed and mind-controlled, because even if you're aware of the brainwashing and the mind control, you could still get played, and people do every day. So if you don't know about it, you're getting absolutely manipulated, and a lot of people don't think it's real. A lot of people think it's overstated or overhyped. I would say it's underhyped, and I will say with conviction that it's very alarming that 4/5 people will say he's guilty, only 1/5 will actually check, and 70% of people will lie to stop a leader that they think is a horrible person. So I think it's awful. I think it's terrible, but it's just one little glimpse in a sea of very unintelligent conversation, accusations, screaming, screeching from all sides, Kavanaugh everywhere, people's opinions, little witty one-liners that don't really matter. I figured I could add a little psychological analysis to this situation and tell you that it is just a fact that a majority of people will lie, which I think is terrible, to achieve a means that they think is, attainable. And I'm sure we do it all in our lives in small cases too, so I'm not trying to act like I'm better or anything. I just think I'm part of this human circus where we continuously lie, we continuously manipulate, and now the political climate is so ridiculously huge. I just personally, with all the information I told you, I just think it's a little ridiculous that people are saying, well, she seems very convincing. There's no way that she could possibly be lying because, she really believes herself. A lot of people believe themselves. The political climate's so crazy. People can stare you in the face and tell you a bold-faced lie to your face. Millions of people, because they actually believe themselves. They've convinced themselves. They've watched enough late-night hosts and politicians who do the same. They look at them with glowing eyes and tell a blunt-faced lie straight to your face, so you believe them. You know, why would they be lying? Why would the politicians be lying? Why would the news hosts be lying to me? But they are, and I just think it's a weird argument that people are like, well, why would she do that? Could she lie? Could she really have a testimonial like that? I mean, if you really look into human psychology, people do crazy, crazy stuff. So that's the situation that our conversation. I just wanted to show out a glimpse into the mindset of the human being, admitting that they will lie to achieve a means that they think is good, which you could see now in America, especially on the left, but on the right too. And also just, I mean, the amount of people who are willing to believe that someone's guilty is this big, and the amount of people who are willing to research what's actually going on is this big. So until we change ourselves, until we take control of our own minds, don't blame the politicians, don't blame the media, don't blame Trump, don't blame Hillary Clinton, don't blame George Soros, don't blame anybody. It is the humans, it's us on the ground level that continuously just repeat history by lying ourselves, believing lies, having no critical thinking skills, being so politically charged that we're willing to ruin someone's lives or even, have people, injured or harmed physically and personally just to achieve a means that we've been convinced is true. And I just think it's very, very, very strange. Thank you guys for watching. That's just a little clip. Go watch the actual segment if you'd like. I'm sure there's a lot of analysis on what's going on, whether it's true or not. I just wanted to